Hi, St. George's. So it's been 9 weeks since the pandemic began, and wow, have our lives changed so dramatically. When this pandemic began, so many of us just put up a strong front. There was a lot of community solidarity and a lot of strength that we put into this is a crisis that we're going to meet head on, and we'll get through it. But 9 weeks into it, we're really beginning to understand that this isn't a pandemic or a crisis that's going to last for a couple months. The reality is we're going to be dealing with COVID-19 and its implications for the next year and a half, 2 years. It's going to be some time. And what that means then for us is it requires us to slow down, to step out of that mindset of doing, of how do we address this and change it. It invites us into that inward reflection of really wrestling with and sitting with the feelings that we have right now. What are the things that we're grieving and lamenting? What are the things that we're losing that we miss and we long to have again? And it's also time for us to reflect on what are the new things that we're discovering during this time? What are the joys and celebrations and the new ways of being God's people in the world that we hope to take forward with us, that we don't want to lose? One of the things that I have gained a deeper appreciation for during this time is pausing regularly throughout my day to pray and be with God. It's something I've always done, but there's something about the sheltering in place that's invited me more acutely into it. So for me, what my prayer life often looks like is making a nice cup of tea and going outside in God's creation and just dwelling and experiencing God's creation around me, and then pouring my heart out to God, sharing the things that I'm grieving, the things that I'm wrestling with, celebrating the joyful things, and sitting in the stillness and experiencing that stillness in that quiet space, listening for what God is calling me to learn and to experience in this time. So a couple weeks ago, I invited us to do something similar, and it was to start this emotional processing, this spiritual processing of what does this all mean for us and how are we dwelling in it? And I invited us to do that through a metaphor. Well, this week I'd like us to continue that space, to be invited into this time of not yet is still becoming, and sitting in the stillness and the being. And the way I invite us to reflect on it is by writing prayers. There's a powerful thing about sitting down with pen and paper and writing out our prayers to God that name what we're experiencing, what we see others are experiencing in the world around us. There's something about creating a prayer that is so powerful and transformative for us. Prayer isn't just about us asking things of God. It's about inviting God into our midst and letting God do that work within us. And the beautiful thing about prayers is there's no one universal form to do it. Our prayers can be very formal and structured, like our collects in the BCP are, or they can be very fluid and spontaneous. There's limitless ways in which we can create prayer and talk with God. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to take 10-15 minutes out of your day. Sit down and write your prayers to God. Write it out. Create something that speaks to how you are experiencing this time right now with God and the community. And then if you feel comfortable doing so, send me an email, send the parish office an email with your prayers. Because one of the things I'd like to do is begin incorporating these prayers into our worship services, into our meetings, into our email blasts that go out. I want us to share our prayers together, because I think by doing so we will recognize that we are not alone in our wrestlings. We're not alone in the things that we're lamenting, and we're not alone in celebrating the new things that come up. And my hope is by processing together as a community through prayer, our hearts and minds will be able to let go of the anxiety and to sit more comfortably in the stillness that is God, and listen and be transformed by this time to become the people that God is calling us to be for this time and the time to come. So happy prayer time. I'm excited to see what you come up with, and I'll see you on Sunday.